Another big thing that 3D models kind of expose themselves with is having too much 3D in them. Like, it's hard to explain, but let me show you what that means. Let's look at these buttons, for example. All these buttons are flat planes. They look pretty good and look kind of drawn or 2D on the model. If they were solidified or if they had thickness, it would immediately show that they're, first of all, 3D objects, which might be the case in real life, but when you draw them, you wouldn't really draw every button with, like, you know, you first create the circular shape, and then you also add like a little bit of thickness to them. Especially when you animate it, you would probably just draw it as one simple shape. I have had the same for example, the Deadpool model, where he had like a little protection on his hands. If you make this solid, if you give it thickness, and then you move it around, it's very easy to see that it's a 3D model, because the perspective, like the thickness of it perfectly moves with how it moves in the 3D scene, or in the you know, according to the camera in the 3D space in the world. Once you remove the thickness though, and it's just a plane, it still looks like it's a protective pad on his arm, but it allows it to look much more 2D and much more drawn, because if you were to draw it, you wouldn't draw the thickness. Like, imagine if you draw armor, for example, usually you would just see the line art as the thickness, and that's how you kind of have to think about these smaller details for the 3D models too. So thickness for like big things like these rings are fine, because they're so big that it kind of makes sense to give them thickness, because if you were to draw them this big, you probably would also draw thickness for them. So for example, if I were to create this for an animation rather than like a video game, for example, I would probably just remove the thickness on the shirt, for example, because you're not going to see it anyway, and it would probably look better without it.